The last in-person event that I attended prior to the start of the COVID pandemic was my own 23rd birthday party. Since college, it has been a bit of a tradition for me to host a chocolate fondue party for my birthday. The way that this works is that I buy a ridiculous amount of chocolate, and then I melt it down into silky fondue, and guests are invited to bring a dipping item to share. The room was noisy with chatter and warm with laughter and hugs. Looking around, I remember thinking, wow, all of these people I love in one place. It had only been 6 months since I had moved to Boston shortly after graduating college, but I was already starting to build the life I wanted to live in this city I had decided to adopt as my home. I want to bring my loved ones together like this more often, I thought to myself. I put the fondue in the center of the table after taking out portions for my food allergy folks, and everyone gathered around to dip pretzel sticks, strawberries, and marshmallows into the pot. It was messy and beautiful, and definitely the kind of COVID nightmare that we wouldn't imagine doing today. In an act as simple as melting down a whole bunch of chocolate, I had created a kind of spiritual watering hole. And each strawberry and each pretzel that my friends brought to share was a gift, co-creating the space of mutual care and love. And then just a few days later, everything shut down. Remember the early days of lockdown? The isolation, the fear, the feeling of I just want a hug and I can't have one. Just a few days after my friends gathered to share food and laughter and so many hugs, we were collectively facing the prospect of sterilizing our groceries with alcohol wipes every time we went to the store forever. I had never realized how much I relied on the tangible care that shared food provides until sharing a meal became out of the question. Birthday FaceTimes just don't land quite the same way as birthday cakes. Although I'm grateful for the many ways that I was able to stay connected during isolation, and particularly for my housemates with whom I weathered that period, I yearned for the crowded table laden with fondue dipping items. But I also started to discover ways to let that care and nourishment in spite of the ongoing pandemic. So I will admit that I am one of those people who made a sourdough starter during lockdown only to let it languish at the back of my fridge for 6 months and ultimately die. But in the meantime, I baked fragrant bread and learned to make crumpets with the discard. I cooked elaborate cakes for each of my housemates' birthdays, learning to bake somewhere along the way. I even started bringing food to people outside of my bubble, dropping off meals to friends who were having surgery or just a bad week. In the winter, I helped organize Sanctuary's treat swap so that community members around the country could share food and crafts as tangible expressions of care. In spite of the restrictions, and sometimes because of them, we created new ways of nourishing each other. Food is one of many ways we can make care and connection tangible. Even under lockdown, I was able to find ways to connect across the distance and show my appreciation for loved ones, even when we couldn't sit at the same table. And offering care to my people also opened up new ways to let my loved ones care for me. A little over a year ago, I had top surgery, which is a form of gender-affirming surgery. And a few weeks before my surgery date, I proudly told my therapist about my plans to spend the next few days cooking and freezing portions of soup and mac and cheese so that nobody would need to be inconvenienced by my need to eat. How about, said my kind and ever-patient therapist, you set up one of those meal trains? I screamed, I squirmed, but the truth was looking me in the face, and I had to agree. My plan didn't make sense, nor did my insistence on doing this all on my own. So I set up a meal train page and emailed it to a bunch of people I knew in Boston, and damn did that thing fill up fast. My friends came from all over the city, and they brought me tangy enchiladas, fresh summery pesto pasta, absurdly fancy sous vide porchetta, earthy Lebanese lentils and rice. I don't know. They also sat with me, kept me company, and many of them broke bread with me. Even under COVID restrictions, cooking gave my friends a tangible way to care for me. The love that they put into their creations nourished my body and my spirit during my recovery. And actually, many of them thanked me for letting them know how they could show up for me. I want to acknowledge that many of us have a complicated relationship with food. If food as a form of tangible care isn't a concept that's going to work for you for whatever reason, that's okay. I would invite you to reflect on a kind of care that rings more true for you. My hope for my own life and for yours is to look for the ways we can offer each other tangible care and connection. We can pay attention to what our people need and bring it to them, or knit it for them, or paint it for them, or write it for them, or yes, bake it for them. We live in a world where it isn't always easy to figure out how to love on each other. Something I learned from pandemic isolation is the power of love made tangible, whether that's bringing soup to a friend in recovery, mailing an embroidery project across the country, or even wearing my mask to keep my fellow humans safe. My vision of the crowded table is a place where people come to be fed in body and spirit. Sometimes it's a literal table, a table so full where you're not actually sure if another bowl of chocolate fondue will fit, but you fit it in anyway. And somehow there is always more space to draw up a chair. Sometimes it's a space of care that we co-create with some creativity, resourcefulness, and a pinch of chaos. Always it is a table of abundance, of care, and of love.